Good morning. This is Janashekar, Assistant Professor, Department of Mechatronics, Bharat Institute of Higher Education Research, Chennai. The course name is Robotics and Machine Vision System. Course code is PMT 701. Let's start. Okay. Robotics and Machine Vision. What is objective for the course? To introduce the basic concept and the component of robotics, to learn the machine vision concept based on image processing techniques. So it has in this course it has 5 units. First unit is a robotics introduction. Second unit is a kinematics of robotics. Third unit is a robot end effectors. Fourth unit is a machine vision system, and the fifth unit is a feature extraction. These are the 5 units. Let's start. Start with the first unit. The introduction to the automation. Okay. First of all, what is automation? The automation, it is a technology that is concerned with the use of mechanical, electronics, and the computer-based system in the operation and the control of production. That means using of this technology, mechanical, electronics, and computer-based system to automate the process. Okay. To the operation and the control of the production. Okay, the automation is a technology by which the process or procedure is performed with the minimal human assistant. That means we have to minimize the human assistant into the production. This is the ultimate aim of the automation. So the uses of robotic equipment in the manufacturing process, the application of scientific knowledge to find the answer and fix problems. Okay, in the use of the resources to manufacture good or more efficiently, and hearing of worker from the all over the world to manufacturing goods. So we have to introduce the automation techniques in the production technology and production, and to reduce the minimal of the human assistant. That is the ultimate aim of the automation. So the automation and the robotics are two closely related technology. These are two related technology. So while studying of the robotics, we have to know that what is a automation. Okay. Okay. Next one, there are two automation is there. One is a hard automation and a soft automation. What is a hard automation? Hard automation is dedicated machine and the equipment for the specified task. A machine is working for only one task or a few tasks. Okay, so dedicated machines. So that is called the hard automation. The dedicated machine are equipped for the specified task. And the soft automation is that machines are designed to perform multiple tasks. And that means a machine is used for the several tasks. Okay, that is called the soft automation. There are two automation is there: soft automation and the hard automation. Types of automation. There are 3 types of automation is there: fixed automation, programmable automation, and flexible automation. Okay. Automation. Fixed automation is used to do when the volume of the production is very. If the production is very high, we are going for the fixed automation. Why? Because of there is a dedicated machine has been used. So no need to changing any setup for the machine. So it is a fixed automation. That's why it's called the fixed automation. And the production is also very high. Next point, the component of the product very efficiently and the high production rate. So it's a very efficient and also the high production rate. A good example for the fixed automation can be found in the automobile industry. In the automobile industry, the machines are working at the same work. Okay, same task or same work doing repeatedly. Okay. So that is called the fixed automation. That machines are dedicated machine has been used for the task. Okay, so the fixed automation mostly used in the automobile industry. Next one is the programmable automation. The programmable automation is used to when the volume of the production is related to the. To compare the fixed automation, the production is a low mean. It is a programmable automation. In this programmable automation, we can program a machine and do some work and also do for another work. We go for the another work. Once completed the task, we go for the another task. That's why it's called a program. We have to change the program and do the another task. Like that we can go for. Okay, so it's a programmable automation. There are variety of production to be made. So we can use more than one task can be used for the programmable automation. Many different and unique product can be made in the small batches. For the small batches for production, we go for the program optimization. Only we have to change the program, and we can change the machine to be work for the as per the program. Okay. Next one is a flexible automation. Is a flexible automation means the changing. Okay, the ability to adapt the engineering changes in the part. For example, one part is we have to manufacturing and do that task. After that, do for another task. Like that, we can change. That's why it's called the flexible automation. Okay, increase the number of similar part produced in the system. So we can go for the number of product can be made in the flexible automation. The ability to accommodate routing changes that allow the part to be produced in the different types of machine. We can use a different type of machine, and also we can produce the different types of parts. Also, we can produce by the flexible automation. These are the three types of automation in the manufacturing companies. Okay. Next one is a benefit for the automation. Okay, what is the benefit for the automation? While using of the automation, what are the benefits? Okay, look at this: improved product quality. First of all, improve the product quality. While making a human to compare the human product quality, the machine product quality is very good. Okay, so you can improve the product quality by using of the automation. Improved safety. You can use safety hazardous places. We cannot go for the human, right? So you can use the machine. Okay, so improved safety. Increase in manufacturing flexibility. We can increase the flexibility, or we increase the manufacturing flexibility, and improve decision making. Okay, we can also improve the decision making while using of the automation. Next one is the increase the productivity, increase the production also, and they reduce the manufacturing cost. This is a very important thing. Look at this. These are the increase improved. Here the decrease the reduce the manufacturing cost. While using of the automation, we can reduce the manufacturing cost. Okay, so this is a very important benefit in the automation. Next. Okay. Next one is the introduction to the robotics. What is the robotics? And we have to study what is a robot. Okay, origin of the robots. The word the robota means literally the self labor or the hard work in the Greek language. In 1921, word is from the Greek language. It is called the robota. Okay, from that robota is derived with the robotics of the robot. Okay. In 1942, the word is robotics. The word is robotics coined by the Isaac Asimov. Okay, he only gave the 3 laws of robotics. Okay, in 1942. In 1970s, Stand Research Institute has implemented the ARM. In 1970, the Stand Research Institute has implemented the ARM. From that, it's a small development is making a nowadays working a robot. Okay, in 1976, the Viking implemented robot arm in 1976. Okay, Joseph Elgeberger is a father of the robotics. Why he is called a father of the robotics means he got a licensed patent and developing a first industrial robot is developed by the Joseph Engelberg, and also he got the license and the patent. So that's why it's called Joseph Engelberg as a father of the robot. Okay, so industrial robot in the United States under the brand name is a Unimate. It's a first used the industrial robot is a brand name is a Unimate. Okay, the technology was originally adopted for the industrial use in the General Motors plant in 1961. Okay, so this is the origin of the robot and developing under several stages of the robotic. Okay, robot and versus in the robotics. What is a robot and what is a robotics? Robot is a machine. Okay, robot is a machine. But in the robotics is a study of technology of the robot. So to study of this robot is called the robotics. So that is a two words is where you can maybe confused with these two words. What is a robot and a robotics? Robot means a machine. You're saying talking about the only machine means you can say it's a robot. If at the study of the that robotics is called robot is called the robotics. Okay, so the study of the technology of the robot is called the robotics. Okay, introduction to the robotics. Okay, what is a robot? First of all, what is a robot? Robot is a electromechanical device. It's a electromechanical device. That means electrically and mechanically it combine a device. Okay, electromechanical device. To perform the various tasks, it can be perform a various tasks. Okay, robot can perform a various tasks. May be human controlled or automated. This robot may be the controlled by human or automated by its own. Okay, this is a what is a robot? Okay, so definition for the robot. So there are a lot of definition for the robot. But Robot Institute of America, RIA, simply RIA, is given some standard definition for the robot. This is a universally accepted definition for the robot. So we go for this definition. A robot is a programmable multifunctional manipulator designed to move material, parts, tool or specified devices through the variable programmable motion for the performance of the task. This is a definition for the robot. That means a robot. Okay, a robot, programmable multifunctional manipulator. Programmable multifunctional manipulator designed to move. Okay, this is designed to move. Why they are designed for the this machine? Designed to move material, parts, okay, tools or specified devices. Anything can move anything through a variable programmable motion for the performance of the task. That means you have to give the program to the robot. This program it's moving material, parts, tools, everything by its end effectors. Okay, this is the definition for a robot. Okay. Robot anatomy. Robot anatomy means a simple manipulator. It's also called the manipulator. It has a, first of all, it has a base. Okay, it's fixed with the base here. It is a fixed, it's not a movable, and it has a joint. Here is a joint. This is called the arm. Okay, this is a joint. This is a arm or link, and this is a wrist. Okay, this is a wrist. This is a end effector. This end effector only it's doing any task of the robot. Here we have give the program to the robot. This end effector only do the such a task. Okay, complete the task. Okay. So what is a robot anatomy? First of all, what is a robot anatomy? The study of the structure of the robot is called the robot anatomy. Okay, so study of the structure of the robot is called the robot anatomy. A mechanical structure of the robot is like a skeleton in the human body. Okay, so mechanical structure of the robot is the skeleton of the human body. Same in the robot. Okay. The robot anatomy is therefore the study of the structure of the robot, that is a physical construction of the manipulator structure. Okay, the manipulator is physical construction of the manipulator. That means that we are studying what is a joint, what is a arm, how it's fixed. Everything is a robot anatomy. Okay, the base, arm, wrist, and the end effector forming a mechanical structure of the manipulator. Okay. So there is a base is there, arm is there, and the wrist is there. Okay, and the end effector forming a mechanical structure of the manipulator. This is called the manipulator. Okay, the manipulator is constructed of series of joint and links. The joint provides a relative motion between the input and the output links. Okay, here the joint is there, here the link is there. It's connected with the joint. This is giving the relative motion of the robot. Okay, and the input, give the input to the, that means you give the input and capturing that input and give the some output is there. Okay, output link is. Each joint provides a robot with a 1 degree of freedom. For example, each joint producing a 1 degree of freedom. That means a DYF, it simply says a DYF 1 degree of freedom. For example, these are 2 joint, 3 joint is there, means it is a degree of freedom of the robot is a 3. Okay, so it's the number of joint equal to the number of degree of freedom. Okay, comparison of the human and the robot. Okay, while comparing how it's a robot related to the human, how we related to the human. Look at this. Okay, the human is a human, robot, and the automations. Okay, human has a brain, right? So the robot has a processor. So what is the use of the brain? Brain is a processing of the data and doing a task, right? So that same is a and the processor is doing the processor. What is automation? Automation is a computer chips and a software is there. Okay. Here, skin, ear, and a nose is there. For the sensor, as a human sensor, these are the human sensor. Here we are using a sensor. Okay. Here, lighting and a sound is used in the automation. Okay, human has a eye, the robot has a vision system. Okay, the human eye is used to view the object or everything. Okay, same as the vision system. Vision system is a machine vision system. Work with the optical cable. Here, the automation is a work with the optical cable and TV and the cameras. Okay, next one is the arm and hand, arms and the hand. So end effector, using a end effector. Here they manipulate the and the support to be there. Okay. Oh, the human has a feet. The transportation system. Transportation system in the robot is a maybe the mobile robot or a bipolar robot or something. Okay. So how it's moving to the one place to the other. Okay. That is a transportation system. Okay. And next one is a movement mechanism. Here is a movement mechanism. These are the comparison of the human and the robot. Okay. So in 1940 and 1940s, they given Isaac Asimov is given the 3 laws of robot. Okay, first law is a robot may not injure a human. This is a basic law of the robot. A robot may not be injure a human or through a inaction allow a human to come to harm. That means a robot. Okay, if robot is there, a human is there. It not injure a human. That is a basic law of the robot. Okay, it may not injure the human. That is a very basic law of the robot. Okay, or through the inaction allow the human to come under harm. Next, second law. A robot must to obey the order given it by the human being. Okay, a operator, though robot is there, operator give the instruction to the robot, right? This robot should obey that rules. Okay, this is a second law. Okay, unless such order would conflict with the first law. That means if the operator give the instruction to the harm to the another person, but he should not do. Why? Because of it not to conflict to the first law. Okay, so that's why the robot must to obey the order given it by human being or operator, unless such order would be conflict with the first law. It should not be breaking the first law. Okay, whatever it may be, but the first law should not be broken. Okay, that is a very important. Okay, third law is a robot must to protect its own extensions as long as such protection does not conflict with the first and the second law. That means the third law says first law and the second law. Okay, here the robot should protect its own in the extensions. It should protect its own extension as long as such protection does not conflict with the first and the second law. Okay, this is the third law of the robot. Robotic motion. Next one is the robotic motion. Robotic motion, we can say it's a first one is a classification of the robot motion. It's a lead movement. L-E-R-T. Lead is a L is a linear, extensive, and a rotational and a twisting movement. Okay, this is a simply says a L-E-R-T. This is a lead classification. Okay, the lead classification system uses the types of robot produced by the each robot axis based on the classification of robot. First one is the linear motion. Look at this. The linear motion of the type that might be seen in the rack and pinion. It working as a rack and pinion mechanism. Okay. The linear motion is produced by the part of moving along the side of the another part in the gantry or the rack and pinion system. So here we are connected and it's moving. Okay, it's moving. It's moving in the linear movement. It may be the vertical or a horizontal movement. That is the linear motion of the robot. Next one is the extensive motion. Extension motion is nothing but, yes, it is it's like a cylindrical shape. Within the cylindrical shape, there is another link. Okay, another link is there. Okay, so extension motion each that occur when the one part of the robot arm slide inside another part of the arm. Okay, the extension motion is produced when one part moves inside another part in the telescoping motion. That means that is a extensive. Okay, from that cylindrical link and is connected to the come out from the that cylindrical. Like that is the extension motion used in the robot. Okay. Next one is the rotational motion. Rotational motion is nothing but here the fixed part. Okay, here the fixed part. Here the moving. Okay, it's moving. So with respect to this fixed part, it's moving in the 360. It may be the 360 or any degree, whatever it may be. Okay. Here the rotational motion is produced by one part moving about the something other than its center. It's a center. It's moving in the with respect to the center. It's moving in the around the that center. Okay, that is called the rotational motion. Okay, next one is the twisting movement. Twisting movement is nothing but, for example, moving of the human neck. Okay, what is the how it's moving? How it's moving? It's moving. We can move the 180 degree, right? So that is like a motion is called the twisting motion. Look at this. The gantry robot has a 3 linear motion, 1, 2, 3 as a wrist and a 3 rotational motion, 4, 5, 6 as a gripper with the 1 linear motion. One would be the L3 or 3L robot using a lead. Okay, there is a given some combination for the movement. Okay, here the twisting motion which may be the seen when the part turning about the center, something like the human turning of the human neck joint. That means you can move is a 180 degree like that. Okay, so that is called the twisting motion of the robot. Okay, these are the 4 robotic motion in the robot. Okay, next one is 6 basic motion along with this that 4. Okay, pitch, yaw, roll. Rotational transverse movement of about the vertical axis. Radial transverse is the extensive and retractive of the arm. Vertical transverse is the up and down motion of the manipulator, and the pitch is a up and down movement of the wrist, and the yaw is a slide and the slide to slide movement of the wrist, and the roll is a rotation of the wrist. Degree of freedom. Next one is a degree of freedom. Already discussed about the degree of freedom. The degree of freedom is the number of joint. Okay, number of joint. Okay, look at this. The degree of freedom. Okay, dy simply says a dyf is defined as one of the variable. The maximum number of 6. Okay, required to define the motion of the body in this space. Look at this. Here the one joint is there. Here the one joint is there. Okay. Here we can if it is a rotating robot, means it's rotating in this field. Okay, after that it's connected to the other part, it's rotating in the other field. Here another rotating means it's rotating here. Like that ways, okay, that is a given some motion of the bodies in this space. Okay, so how we can find the degree of freedom of the robot is number of by the number of joint. So number of joint equal to the number of degree of freedom. Okay, what is if the joint is a 5 means 5 degree of freedom. If the joint is 2 means 2 degree of freedom. So it is equal to the number of joint equal to the degree of freedom. Okay. For example, 6 joint has a 6 degree of freedom and the 4 joint has a 4 degree of freedom. Okay, next one is a robot configuration. Okay. Okay, robot configuration is nothing but a robot is moving. Okay, robot is moving by its motion. Here, how it's making a workspace. How it's making a workspace in the space. That is called the robot configuration. By the robot configuration, it's making some shape, okay, for the that end effector. Look at this. There are 4 types of robot configuration is there. First is the polar configuration, cylindrical configuration, Cartesian coordinate configuration, and joint arm configuration. Okay. First one is a polar configuration. Polar configuration. This is a diagram for the polar configuration. Here, look at this. Here, joint is one is a revoluting joint. 2 is a also the revolute joint and a rotary joint. Here, the 3 is a linear joint. Okay. So look at this. It has a 3 axis. 1, 2, 3. 3 axis. 1 linear joint. 3 is a linear joint and 2 rotary joint. This is a rotary joint. 1 is okay. 1 and 2 is a rotary joint. Next one is the rotational axis 1. Okay, and the bend axis 2 and the reach axis 3. Okay. It is also called a spherical robot. It's also called the spherical robot. It is a configuration. The arm is connected to the base with the twisting point. The work envelope is the cylindrical. This work envelope for the robot is the cylindrical. It's making a work envelope on the shape of the cylindrical in shape. Okay, that's called the polar configuration. So what is they're giving some advantage? Simple design, high payload, light in weight, easy to program. Everything is given, and also giving some disadvantage for the each configuration. Lower mechanical rigidity, more sophisticated control system than the Cartesian or cylindrical robot. Like that, they're given, and also given some application: injection molding, forging, machine tool loading, and material transfer. This is this polar configuration uses and application given. Okay, next one is a cylindrical configuration. Cylindrical configuration. When look at this here, the same 3 links is there, 1, 2, and 3. Here 1 is a rotary joint, and the 2 and is a linear movement, and 3 is a linear movement. Look at this. 1 joint is 1 rotary joint 1 and 2 linear joint 2 and 3. Okay. The rotational axis 1 up and down is a 2 and 3 is a reach here. Up and down is a 2 and 3 is a reach movement. One is a rotational. Okay, its work envelope is a cylindrical. It's making a cylindrical in shape. And it's found mostly in the pick and place robot. Pick and place robot for using pick and place task means using a cylindrical configuration. Okay, next one is the Cartesian coordinates. Cartesian coordinates, there is no rotational axis. Okay, there are 3 axes there. 1, 2, 3. These 3 are all 3 is making a linear movement. Okay, there is no rotation. Okay, rotation motion. Okay, the Cartesian coordinate configuration consists of 3 slide joint. 2 of 3 are orthogonal. 2 or 3 is orthogonal. 3 slides are parallel to 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 of the axis Cartesian coordinate system. All arms joint are linear. All of the in the linear only. Okay. So work envelope is a rectangular. It's making a rectangular in a shape. Okay, next one is the last one is a revolute or a articulated coordinate system. Here the 3 rotational axis. Okay, there is no linear movement. It is a 3 rotational axis. It is closely resembled to the human arm. For example, human arm, we take in the human arm. Okay, this is the human arm. There are 3 axes there. Okay, wrist axis and elbow and shoulder axis. Okay, so it resembles of this configuration, that is a articulated robot. Articulated configuration is resemble to the human arm. Okay, the wrist position. Okay, so it's a rotational and what is it, joint and shoulder. Okay, so it resembles the human arm. This is a robot configuration. Next, classification of robot. Next one is a classification. There is a lot of classification in the robot. So depending upon the work and task, we can classify the robot. Okay, physical configuration. So we can split up the robot by the physical configuration, control system used, movement used, and the types of drives, application, degree of freedom, sensory system, and the capabilities of the robot system. These are based on this application and task. We can classify the robot. Okay. Next, it's a very important work envelope or workspace. What is a work envelope? Okay, the work envelope is defined as a work envelope or the space within the robot can manipulate the end of the wrist. Okay, for example, I'm taking this hand. Okay, this is a hand. How we can move? How we can move? Right. This is the end of myself. We can do the work. After behind that my reach, we cannot do any task. That is the same as a robot. A robot has a some it can work with some spaces only. That is called the robot envelope. Okay, it's defined as a envelope space within which robot can manipulate the end of the wrist. Okay, a robot work envelope is a range of the movement. How the robot can move it. Look at this picture, we can understand easily. Here the robot manipulator is there. It's moving here about this part only. This is called the work envelope of the robot. It's not moving behind this part, right? So this is called the robot workspace. Here this is depending upon the configuration of the robot. Okay, the shape of the reachable work area of the robot. Space defined by the geometry of the robot. You can say it's a geometry of the robot. Example, the Cartesian, cylindrical, spherical, or a revolution. We are seeing, we already discussed about here the configuration. What are the configuration? Same with the work envelope of the robot. Okay. Next one is the robot specification. Okay. We are taking the robot. How we can specify? Accuracy. Accuracy can be defined as the ability of the robot to position its wrist end of the desired target point within the reach. Okay, we give some input to the robot, right? By the program, what is the output of that program? Okay, how it reaches, how it's accurate to the what we are given the input. That is the accuracy of the robot. Repeatability. Repeatability refers to the robot ability to return the program point when it is commanded to do so. That means we are giving the same input. For example, 555 some given. The robot how is repeatedly it can be reached at that point. Okay, that is called the repeatability of the robot. Next one is reliability. Reliability identify the percentage of the time the robot is expected to operate without being taken out from the service for the maintenance or the repair. The reliability of the robot between the 96% to the 98%. That means how the robot can work for some service. Okay, how it's working. For example, the robot can work 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, like that. We are given here some without make a repair. Okay, without need a maintenance or something. How it's working? How many years can work the robot? That's the reliability of the robot. Okay. Next one is resolution. The smallest increment of the motion or distance that can be detected or controlled by the robot control system. That is called the resolution. How is the smallest control? That means we are giving some one point to the other point. How it can be smallest amount can reaches. Okay, for example, can say 1 centimeter. It can move the 1 centimeter resolution means it can move the 1 centimeter, 2 centimeters, 3 centimeters like that. If it is a resolution is a 0.5 means 3.5, 4.5 like that, they'll give the resolution. That means the smallest increment of the motion or distance that can be detected or controlled by the robot control system. Next one is the spatial resolution. The ability of the robot can break down the its movement within the increment. Okay. Okay. The given the robot. Okay, the robot ability to the breakdown it's a movement. Okay, into the increment. How it's if not given the any output for some particular input, that is called the spatial resolution. Okay. Next one is a very important for the robot specification is a payload. Payload is it's nothing but how can handle the can handle the robot. Okay, that is called the payload. Okay. So look at this mass that robot is designed to manipulate under the manufacturer specification, speed, acceleration or deceleration, duty cycle, etc. over the entire work envelope. So payload is a end effector weight or tooling weight with the part weight. Robot system. Okay, so robot system is a part subject function. Robot system has a 6 major component. Robot arm or manipulator, end of the arm and end effector, power source, controller, sensor and actuator. So this is a component of a robot system. Look at this. Here the manipulator is there. Here the manipulator is there. Okay, the robot arm is a manipulator, and the end of the arm is a end effector. Here the end effector. Here the power source, and the controller is there, and the sensor is connected here, and the actuator, that is the motor is connected to actuate the robot. Okay, these are the 6 major component of the function of the robot. Look at this. Robot arm or manipulator. The robot arm can have the shoulder, elbow and a wrist, even finger. It has a finger, elbow, shoulder and a wrist. The robot manipulator can divide into 2 sections, arm and a body and a wrist. Okay, robot arm, body and a wrist. Okay, end effector. End effector can be mounted to the wrist and enable to robot to perform a specified task. Okay, the end effector are categorized into 2 major types of the gripper and the tools. Power source. Power source is given to the robot to operate. Okay, power source is a unit the supply power to the controller for the manipulator, and drive system is a other power source of the robot. Okay, the drive system is a pneumatic drive, hydraulic and electrical drive. Okay, controller is a robot brain. Okay, controller is a robot brain. It's a control the robot movement. Okay, the control system contain the program, data algorithm, logic analysis and various other processing activity which enables the robot to perform. Okay, sensor. Next component is a sensor. The sensor is an electronic device that can transfer a physical phenomena, temperature, pressure, humidity, etc. into the electrical signal. Okay, it's converting the electric signal. Sensors and robotics are used to do both the internal feedback control and the external interaction with the outside environment. Okay, actuator or next one is actuator. Actuator are used to converting hydraulic energy or electrical energy into the mechanical energy. They can used to lifting, clamping, opening, closing, and mixing, outloading in the operation. We can do this. This is a robot component. Okay, these are the 6 basic component for the robot. Okay, what is the application and the benefit for the robot? Here the robot application, material handling, machine loading and unloading component, spray painting, welding, machining, assembly and inspection. Benefit for the robot. By using of the benefit in the industrial, what are the benefits? Look at the increased productivity, improved the product quality, more consistent product quality, reduce the scrap and the waste and the direct labor costs. Okay, so the advantage and disadvantages of robot. Advantages is a greater flexibility, reprogrammability, okay, improved product quality, accident reduction, and reduction of hazardous exposure of the human worker. Next disadvantage is the replace of the human labor. Okay, so this is a it's making a more employment, significant retaining the cost of both the unemployment and the user need the new technology. So major drawback for the robot is making a more unemployment. Okay. Okay, limitation of the robot. So what is the limitation? Limitation is it's making a capital cost increase. Assembly dexterity does not match with the human being, particularly where the high hand coordinates required. That means we cannot say we can replace the human, but the accuracy of human we cannot replace with the robot. Okay, that is a dexterity cannot replace by the human being, particularly the eye and coordination required. Okay, next one is a payload is a poor to compare to the human. Okay, payload of the robot is a ratio is poor to compare to the human. These are the advantages and disadvantages of the robot. Okay, so thank you.